we are a group of concerned indigenes and foreigners, just anyone that is concerned about the freedom of people, come to this program so that we can talk about what's actually going on in Nigeria, because there's a lot going on. And not much of what's actually going on is being talked about. And for a number of years, many different organizations, including the UN, Amnesty International, lots of Christian groups have been calling attention to the genocide in Nigeria, but it hasn't really taken root. And so what we're trying to do here today is to raise the level of what's going on to a code red, because the numbers are now staggering and the incidents are happening on a daily basis. But it is still not making it to the international news. It is still not making it to CNN and ABC News. And it's still going on undetected and unrecognized. So today we're going to have a couple of our regular presenters that are going to be talking mainly about what's going on, and we do have an agenda that they're going to talk to. So we're going to be relying on Stephen today, and we're going to be relying on Honorable Ogaraku. We also have a couple of other people that are going to be here, and they will be giving their opinion on the matter. So without much further ado, I am going to share my screen so that we can get started on what we are going to be talking today, while I introduce those that are going to be talking about what is going on. So welcome, Stephen. We are very happy to have you here again. And the topic is Code Red. Fulani killings in Nigeria is genocide. And as our picture here shows, we've got Bernard Henri Levy, and he is saying very clearly, West should sanction Nigeria's genocide. He is very clear, and this was back at the end of 2021. And he went to Nigeria and he did some journalistic research, and he was clear about what was going on in Nigeria. Then we have the human rights group that is decrying the Christian genocide in Nigeria. And now we know that the genocide that's going on in Nigeria is not just about Christians. And we're going to see as we get further into it. It's also about the Hausas in the north, who are considered moderate Muslims. And this goes back to the late 18th century, when Uthman Danfodio decided that they were not Muslim enough and started the killings of the Hausas, and the start of that very false narrative of a House of Fulani. There is no such tribe as a House of Fulani. That's just a ploy to make the to kind of falsify the origin of the Fulani, which is not Nigeria. They are migrants, they're foreigners. They are not indigenous to Nigeria and only arrived in the late 18th century. And then we have aid group labels persecution of Christians in Nigeria a genocide. So there's now quite a bit of information, but it's still on the fringes. And so, Stephen, you are welcome.
Thank you.
Tell us a little bit, just in very high levels, your thoughts about, is this genocide, before we start going into the definitions, etc. Tell us, is there genocide going on in Nigeria?
Thank you, Jane. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to our listening audience. We're back again this week to address a pressing issue on the scene in the geopolitical contraption called Nigeria. And today we are addressing the issue of genocide. The word genocide, as we are using it today, it's not a journalistic construct, but a realistic rendition of the atrocity that has been taking place in Nigeria over the last several years, but unfortunately to which the global community has turned deaf ears and blind eyes, for some, for the most purpose, inexplicable reasons. But as inexplicable as it is, we know that the genocide that has been taking place and is taking place in Nigeria is really a product of the complicity of the Fulani Caliphate and the Western powers that be that are giving them a comfort. The genocide, for the most part, has started in the north with the Fulanis working very diligently, albeit ferociously, to terminate the indigenous Hausa population. This began initially under the cover of religion, and once they were able to use the cover of religion, they ingratiated themselves to the society by renaming the tribe as Hausa Fulani. There is nothing like Hausa Fulani in what we originally know as the Northern Protectorate. The Northern Protectorate consisted primarily of the Hausas and other smaller ethnicities that are indigenous to that area, until the Fulani came in to start what is called the Fulani hegemony of the Caliphate, setting up the Caliphate in Nigeria. The genocide has reached such an atrocious proportion that even the United Nations recognizes that there is genocide going on in Nigeria. The Nigerian community has actually banded together under the umbrella of the indigenous tribes and filed a complaint with the International Criminal Court, charging the federal government of Nigeria, the commander-in-chief, and all his ministerial accomplices with genocide, human rights abuses, and religious persecution. That case is very well recorded and pending at the ICC in the Hague. So when we talk about genocide, we are not just making waves out of nothing. We are stating the fact that the Nigerian indigenous tribes are suffering, but to which the international community has, for the most part, turned deaf ears and blind eyes. I will rest for now. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Stephen. Very well said. Honorable, is there genocide going on in Nigeria? If you can please give us a quick summarization before we get started.
You're muted, Honorable.
You need to unmute.
The issue with Nigeria has been a long-lasting story of which we know. Just like the first speaker rightly said, we have the intrusions of some group of people by the name Fulanis, who came in the guise of religion, which to eliminate the indigenous people, killing them, informing that they do not worship in the right way. The right way means the extremist form of worship. And this with this, they find themselves they created what they call the colonies, they have it, and then created what is called the Sarikis. And Sarikis simply means you are the speaker of the people. And because the Islamic religion, as they present it, is both spiritual, cultural, and even political leader, it means that he who becomes that Sariki decides what happens within you, socially, politically, culturally, religiously. In this way, they were able to kind of silence the indigenous people of the north, which are known to be the Hausas, the Kanuris, before you come to the Middle Belt. And then, by the time they got into this point, they fit in the political sector. Look at the early independence days, as if to say they were the voice of the North. And because some other aspect of information has let us know that the colonial masters who came in here, they felt instead of going through certain forms of war, they had some forms of agreement, put it this way, thereby allowing them to have their ways in certain circumstances. And this is exactly what is keeping Nigeria to where it is today, unfortunately. What we are trying to say is that this elimination strategy, which has gotten beyond tolerance and what is called genocide. Genocide simply means when people can no longer sleep with their two eyes closed. We are burying people as if to say there is war. Even in Ukraine, where there is war today, I have not seen them bury the red with Nigerians burying their people, mostly in the north. And which they have tendencies of getting down south if nothing is done. What we are trying to say, does it mean until when we are finished, before the United Nations and all the international bodies comes in the right way they're supposed to be in? They are always looking for when there is really outblown of war before one think of Red Cross and all those necessary help. Nigeria need help now more than what Red Cross will do when we are in war. We are even more than war, only that we are tolerating ourselves based on what experiences we had before. What I'm trying to say, what is going on in Nigeria is beyond genocide. And the world community should not be complicit with the government we have today. We know that the leadership of government we have today is of the origin of the Fulanis and are keeping their close eyes over the atrocities that is leading to insecurity. Nigeria today cannot sleep with their eyes closed in any part of Nigeria, not even the so-called the far east or far north or far west. So what are we saying? We want the government to acknowledge the fact that the IDPs, every part of Nigeria is a sign that we are not well met. And these people, if we cannot resettle them, that simply means we have a situation. A situation is a genocide because it is out of fear that people run out of their places. They are not even safe where they find themselves now. And the world community, as mentioned, should come in the right time before it gets out of hand. It's almost out of hand, but they should still play their role. Thank you and God bless you.
Awesome. Thank you very much. We will be coming to other people to, to continue the discussion, but very good summarization. Thank you. Now let's talk about some of the headlines that's going on in Nigeria. We have the CRA wants ICC UN to urgently investigate Southern Kaduna genocide. We have seen the, what's going on in Southern Kaduna. And as we talk about, as we get into the agenda and talk about who are the people that are being killed, we'll talk a little bit more about Southern Kaduna. We'll also talk about insecurity. Governor Adam, Buhari government supporting Fulanis to take over Nigeria. This is going to be one of the criteria as to determine if genocide is actually going on. Then we've got Christian genocide in Nigeria being ignored. This is Obianaju Ikocha that was talking about what was going on there. And then we have the ignored genocide of Christians in Nigeria. So there are lots of headlines out there talking about what's going on. And then we'll be talking about ethnic cleansing. Ethnic cleansing is the intentional killing of a group of people, and retired General T.Y. Danjuma in 2018 raised the outcry. Well, let's look at a few more headlines, and then we'll go into the agenda, and I'll open it up to the presenters, and then we'll get comments from those that are with us today as well. So, stop the Fulani genocide of Christians. We've got the death toll continues to rise for Christians in Nigeria. This is as of April 12th of 2019, and it has gotten worse since then. And then we have one that talks about, is the government complicit? Because we've got scores and scores of people being killed. 43, 185. The All-War massacre was over 40 were killed at a Christian church. We've got churches being burned. We've got Deborah, a student that was burned alive by students in the far north. We've got lots of atrocities going on. And then the last one here is like Nigerian Catholic bishop to Irish president, church massacre, not linked to much climate change. We're going to talk a little bit about the false narratives. It's not herder-farmer conflict. They are murderers. We're talking about herders who do not have legal right to the land, killing rightful land owners. And how is it that this is allowed? How is it that this is a narrative that continues until today? Herder-farmer conflict narrative is simply complicity. It's simply ignoring the facts of what's on the ground. So what is our agenda today? First, we're going to start with what is genocide? Does the situation in Nigeria prove genocide? And we'll be looking at a lot more of the information that the headlines is talking about. We'll be looking at the numbers. And then we'll talk about who is committing the genocide and why. And then we'll talk about false narratives, preventing visibility. Is it complicity or lack of knowledge? And then we will end by talking about what everyone in Nigeria, both inside and in the diaspora, should be doing, must be doing to raise the awareness levels so that action can be taken. So let's start off by talking about the definition of genocide. I'll come to you, Ogaraku. This is the definition in Wikipedia. So if you can read that for us, and then we'll go into the next slide, which is really going to go a little bit more into it, and we will look at some videos. So Ogaraku, please tell us, what does it say? What is the definition of genocide?
Genocide is the intentional destruction of a people, usually defined as an ethnic, nationals, racial, or religious groups, in whole or in part. Raphael Lemkin coined the term in 1944, combining the Greek word Yavik with the Latin suffix credo.
Okay, so let's look at what it says. The main thing that it's talking about is an intentional destruction of a people. The intentional destruction of a people. So I am going to now show a series of videos so that we can continue to define if it is intentional. And then I'm going to come to you guys to really make some comments. So there's, we have, I think, 4 videos that we're going to show. So, but I'm going to stop at the end of each one so that you guys can make like a quick comments, just a couple of quick comments, and then we will go on to the next video. So the first video that I am going to be showing is going to be, we are going to start off with T.Y. Danjuma. We want to start off with him and see what he has to say about what is going on in Nigeria. So I'm going to share my screen and we're going to listen to him, and then we are going to go from there. Actually, just give me a second. Actually, forgive me. I am going to start with the intentional. We are going to start with Bala Mohammed and the Fulanization agenda, which tells us exactly what they are trying to do. So we're going to start with that. We'll get to
that part of the savannah.
So give me a second. Let me share my screen so we can listen to Bala Mohammed again, because this is very important. This video is very important that our people listen to this over and over and over again, so they can get exactly, understand exactly what is going on in Nigeria. So let me push this back a little and we can get started.
National livestock transformation. We understand, yes, NEC decided upon it. They came to that decision. They agreed among themselves. The modality is how it needs to work. But help us understand this. First of all, has your state, you're not one of the pilot states, are you?
No, we are not one of the pilots, but having seen that we are in that part of the savannah and in Nigeria, because we have most of the pastoralists in our state, we indicated our intention or our interest in the program because we believe some of the mistrust and suspicion surrounding the very nice program could be assuaged, and of course we will participate in a manner that will bring the best in terms of global best practice. We are engaging the Netherlands and other countries to come and help us do this in a manner that at least it will boost our economy. We have so many reserve land And we have so many forests that are not being used. Some of them are even being used by criminals, hooligans, and charlatans, where some aspect of criminality has been provided by that forest that is called Lamembora Forest and the Yankari precincts. So outside the agitation or advocacy of the environmentalists and those that are more concerned with the fauna and flora, will be able to provide a salutary effect to the country, because we have over 3,000 square kilometers of land that is in the savannah, in a lush vegetation that can be used for this kind of program, even to serve the nation. And while we are doing it as the federal government has conceived it, we want it to be private sector driven, and we'll bring those who are more familiar with it.
Okay, if you say, because I mean, everybody, we want to see that these killings end and there's peace, and then people go about their businesses peacefully. Everybody wants to see that. But when you say that you want it to be private sector led, we understand that the government is going to provide 80% of funding, the state to provide 20%, and then provide the land.
Yeah.
How is that going to be private sector led?
The government not released any cover for that purpose up to this moment, but we don't know, since we have not been admitted into the program. But certainly we have been working very hard to see that because our people are mostly transhumans, and that we have this vision to create an economic nucleus around livestock, and of course with all the value chain that we can get around livestock, the blood, the horn, the skin, and of course we will try more to cultivate that culture in our people, while at the same time bringing the Fulanis in one fold and try to arrest their traditional practice of moving from one place to the other. And that is very big, an uphill task. But I think we can communicate with them more, because to them, they don't have borders from Cameroon to Nigeria.
But that's the thing, Excellency. How do we ensure that those who will be participating in this federal government largely funded program will be Nigerians?
In terms of the funding?
No, in terms of the operations. You said they're bringing Fulanis together. We have Fulanis from other countries.
Issue of misconception. I think there is a lot of mistrust and misconception with regards to the Fulani man. The Fulani man is a global or an African person. He moves from the Gambia, from Senegal, and his nationality is just a Fulani man. And as a person, I may have my relations in the Cameroon, but they are also Fulani men. I have relations because from the maternal side, I'm a Fulani man. And that is why we want to educate people. A Fulani man sees himself as a Bayelsan, as somebody coming from the Niger Delta, because he speaks the Niger Delta language, which you and I don't. And of course, we would have to just take this as part of our own heritage, something that is African, and that we cannot just close the border and say the Fulani man is just a Nigerian or this. No. In most cases, the crises are precipitated by those outside Nigeria. When there is a reprisal, it is not the Fulani man within Nigeria that causes it. It is that culture of getting revenge, which is embedded in the tradition of the Fulani man, that attracts reprisal from all over the place.
If I understand, does that mean that those Fulani men who are maybe domiciled in other countries, who move around, they can come into the country and this plan will accommodate them as well?
Yes, that's what we want to do. But it has to be done through sensitization, telling them you have to buy in the project, and you use the language, the culture itself, to be able to convince them, away from the mistrust where the whole system of transhumance or pastoralism is criminalized. Criminalization of pastoralism is the problem that we have with this project, and it requires people with passion who understand them and who they believe in, people like us from that part of the country, to say, yes, we have this. Because today there is no limit to the accusation that this and that has happened and it is the Fulani man.
Okay. I am going to stop sharing. And Stephen, comments on any of the number of things, false information that he provided here, please. And Honorable and everybody else, get ready with your comments of what, Stephen, please.
Thank you. Even the devil in the midst of his devilish rantings gives a semblance of truth. Bala Mohammed inadvertently confessed to the fact that the Fulanis are not non-indigenous to Nigeria. He just sugar-coated the term by saying the global citizen of Africa. So one has to look behind the lines.
What exactly does that mean? Is there any international law, African law, country law that recognizes this?
It simply means that the Fulanis that are wreaking havoc in Nigeria are not indigenous to Nigeria and a part of a nomadic tribe that cross borders of different nations. I mean, they claim their origin to the mountains or to the Futajalon Mountains of Guinea. And because the Futajalon Mountains of Guinea do not have a lush, that's the operative word, the lush forestations of Mali, Ghana, and especially Nigeria. So by crossing illegally into all those countries, they, like me, an old Chevy sleeping in the garage and becoming a Rolls Royce, they automatically become citizens of Nigeria with all its rich minerals and lush gardens. So you can see the semblance of truth that in what is saying, but sugarcoating it to make it palatable to the non-discerning ears. Everything is saying, when you look at it analytically, he's speaking to the fact that they are non-indigenous to Nigeria, one. Two, that they are the ones that are perpetrating all the atrocities in Nigeria that have risen to the level of genocide. Three, that the government is complicit in all this because now the government is using two methods. One of which is the RUGA. The second is the water bill to accommodate and condone all those atrocities. Because he said during the interview that the ones that are doing this are the Fulanis from other countries. Whether they are from other countries or they are already in Nigeria, they are still Fulanis. None of them belong to Nigeria. And that's essentially what I got from that interview.
Okay, Honorable, can you highlight some of the absolute false information that is being provided here? And the key thing that he's talking about, because we're talking about intentional destruction of a people. So let's kind of hone in on what he said they're trying to do here. Go ahead, Ogaraku. And then Balade, I'll come to you to give a few thoughts on what they haven't talked about. Go ahead, Ogaraku.
Actually, this is not the first time I've seen this video, but
we just show it every single week for a reason.
Yeah, but I looked at it with some levels of attention while he was speaking now. You see, he, just like first speaker rightly said, he quoted that Fulanese is like they are stateless. That's what he's trying to say, or he said, not trying to say.
They say they are global or African.
Yeah,
that's exactly stateless.
Yeah.
And then if you are stateless, that simply means you are not indigenous of anywhere.
Absolutely.
And then they are trying to make them to come and settle in Nigeria.
Okay, let me say exactly what he said. He said they are bringing the Fulanese in one fold.
Complicity.
The Fulanese in one fold in Nigeria that already has indigenes. Go ahead, Ogaraku.
So, and it means strategic integration of non-indigenous to Nigeria. That's what it means. And using federal government money and policies to integrate them, going by the water bills, the indigenous bills, RUGA bills, and because rightly, even the journalist asked him if the program that we have in Nigeria will be only for the citizens, whatever, Nigerian citizens. He said it is for Fulanis, where they should use it to. That's exactly what they are using it to bring in the Fulanis to settle Nigeria.
Exactly.
Is it
And
not
this is
a shame?
only for Fulanis, right? He's talking about this is only for Fulanis, right?
Again, another issue is that he said criminalization of
Pasteurization
is wrong. In 21st century, and then he made mention of Golden Holland and other places.
Yes.
Those places he mentioned, are they using pasteurization in 2022?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
So, you see, sometimes people shamelessly expose their ignorance or share
their evil intention. This is deliberate.
Yeah, exactly.
Because RUGA is not about pasteurization, as we have seen. It's about bringing the Fulani in one fold. What does that have to do with pasteurization?
So, what we're trying to say, even in the recent time now, you can even see that in the process of pasteurization, one day you see them even in Aso Rock, the way I see them move, because now they move.
They are in Aso Rock. Buhari is in Aso Rock. They are in NNPC. They're own enemy.
I mean, you mean the cows in every space in Nigeria.
Well, actually, the cows have gotten everywhere now.
Exactly.
Yeah,
because
everywhere now.
Even the so-called the bushes, which he says we have in abundance, is not even enough for them. No, it is our homes, it is our infrastructures that the cows should come in. And then when they start even eating wrong things, it's also in effect affecting what they produce out of those livestock.
Yeah,
so
let's talk about this very important point that you just made. He didn't make this point, but you're making this point, right? We're talking about how what you're talking about is a destruction that the Fulani herdsmen and their cows have on the farming community in Nigeria. They are, where else in the world do you allow cows to go into farms and the herders pull up the crops to feed their cow of crops that legal landowners have planted with their own money? Where else in the world is it allowed for non-landowners to go and murder, destroy farms, and displace the people from their land, right? I mean, he's just glossing over it, but this is a reality of what's going on in Nigeria, as we will see, because the farming community is being impacted. And then one of the things that, Ogaraku, you made mention to the using Nigerian funds. Can you talk to us just a little bit about the poverty level in Nigeria while the government is spending money to build ranches and give free land and bring all Fulani in one fold in Nigeria? What is the poverty level in Nigeria while the Buhari government, which is Fulani, is bringing Fulanis in one fold in Nigeria? You're muted, Honorable. You're muted.
You're muted, Honorable. You're muted.
On the visit of former Prime Minister of Britain some years ago, Theresa May, I think that's when these ideas are exposed to let us know where we are in the world index. And what baffles me about this issue of integration is a situation where they are trying to create these ranches in almost all the states of the federation, using even the federal and state fund to create it and then giving it to who? The Fulanis.
Exactly.
So that's the evil about the whole issue. And this is in fray with the millions of people that are in the, what do you call it, IDPs.
Yeah,
not having
over
sanitary,
4 million at any particular time.
It's difficult to talk about.
Yes.
It is really appalling. We shouldn't happen in this situation, I must say that.
Right. And one of the things, Stephen, can you please talk to us about, there's something very important that he said, and this needs to be highlighted. He said that the reprisal happening is not Fulani in Nigeria, but is the culture of getting revenge, where we have all Fulani around the world coming into Nigeria to exact revenge. Revenge for what? But let's talk about that. These are the people we're talking about, right? And then you can make a comment that you want to make, but I just wanted to highlight this. He talked about their culture of revenge and reprisal.
Thank you. In a normal society, you don't demand revenge unless your right has been violated.
And that's through the courts, right? This is
Exactly.
not vigilant. This is not
Exactly.
this is anarchy. This is anarchy.
But to the lawless nomadic tribe that is called the Fulanis, when Papa steps on a land and that he calls his own and you resist him, that is a wrong to which he believes that he has to exact a revenge. And that's a very unfortunate wickedness as such. So in the Fulani mind, wherever they put their foot belongs to them. And because the indigenous people have been resisting, then there has to be a reprisal. I don't understand under what rules those are. I mean, the jungle law. That's what I hear him saying. Because the Fulani is a global African citizen. Therefore, he has a right to cross from the Futajalon Mountains to Nigeria and take over, either forcefully by killing whoever stands on his way, like their grandfather Otman Danfodio did, and their other recent grandfather Ahmadu Bello suggested that they should suppress the conquered people. So you can understand that they have instructions from Ahmadu Bello, but we indigenous people are rising up, and therefore there has to be reprisals. And those reprisals is what is now risen to the level of genocide. The comment I wanted to make that made me raise my hand was that when we defined genocide as the planned and deliberate killing of a particular race of people, which is absolutely correct, except that you can even broaden that definition. The genocide can be very progressive. For example, in the case of the Fulanis, they have been progressively committing genocide since independence. First of all, they killed our political participation by integrating themselves in the political system and taking the majority power in the political system. Then they proceeded to commit economic genocide by taking over the economy, giving any and every conceivable commodity to Dangote, and then everything that is left, they forcefully go into the farms and destroy and kill all our farmers and kill all our crops. That's genocide, because they're doing it on a particular race of people. So what we are now broadcasting to the world as genocide is actually a culmination of the progressive genocide, political, economic, and now human genocide to finish up what it started years ago. It didn't just start in 2015. It started way before independence when they settled in. Thank you.
Right, so we are talking about intentional destruction.
Yes.
Intentional destruction of a people. And as you can see from Bala Mohammed's interview, they are bringing all Fulani in one fold in Nigeria. But wait a minute. Nigeria has indigenous people that have been there since BC. And the Fulani only arrived in late 18th century AD. How are they now going to bring this foreign people to be gathered in Nigeria? Did the indigenous people of Nigeria approve this?
Can I talk?
Okay, if you're going to
Yes.
address what we're talking about.
Yes,
Go ahead.
I'm going to address this. This all goes back to 1914, when Nigeria was put together, the two parts of Nigeria amalgamated. Because when they did that, the British were thinking, oh, these Southerners, they won't listen to us. We got to put them under somebody they will listen to and someone that can take control for us. So they put the houses in charge, regardless of what the houses are going to do. Now, these so-called people that are coming in with their cows, they've said that's their lifestyle. Okay, if it's their lifestyle, how come in that period of time they didn't say, oh, we want to buy ranches and we settle our cows here and here? They never said any of that because they followed their old ways, and they had their eyes on Nigeria that they're going to take it. They're not going to buy it. They're not going to pay for it. They're going to use what they would call a jihad war kind of situation. But if you look at the gypsies in Europe, the gypsies are almost like them as well. They just go from one place to the other. And basically,
very good point, Balade. Very good point. Go ahead.
They go from one place to the other, but the gypsies were in some kind of league with some of the kings and all that. So the king would say, right, these people have done us a favor in certain battles. Okay, they have the right to do what? Settle on any land. Or we will settle them on certain land at certain period. They can come there at certain period. But what these Fulani are now saying is that Nigeria is theirs to do whatever they want. And when they mean whatever they want, they are telling you if I put my language, what the hell they want to do, they can do it. And no Jupiter can stop them. That is the language they're telling us. And that's what they have been doing. In the Middle Belt, they're killing people. I saw a video today.
Okay, let's, sorry, we need to move on. I would just really want, because we've got other videos, we just really want to focus our comments and the things that we're talking about. So sorry to cut you off, but we need to move on and kind of focus on that video and the things that he said, because we do have a few videos that we need to show. But I had just shown where the, what was his name now, was calling.
Wala Muhammad.
No, talking about rename University of Nigeria after Queen Elizabeth. And that created a lot of furor. Why? Because he said that this needs to happen because the British put the Fulani over the indigents. And this is a way of thanking her. These were his words.
Excuse me, what university?
University of Nigeria in Nsukka.
Nsukka.
So he wants to go to the south. To the south. He doesn't even want to rename a university in the north where he is.
That was going to be my question.
They want to rename a university
Jean.
in the south
Yes.
because the queen gave the Fulani unfair advantage over the indigenous people.
I don't know how that can ever stand. I don't know how that can ever stand. But
this is what happened yesterday. This is the furor from yesterday. This is what we're talking about when we're talking about how the Fulani are acting as if Nigeria is a conquered territory and is an emirate because they're installing emir, the emir of Festac. We've talked about this.
Yeah.
Why do we have an emir?
The emir of Calabar, was it Port Harcourt?
Right?
And they got told they can't do that. I think they're going to tell them they can't do that with this.
Well, again, they are doing this, right? They are doing this. I mean, this is actually what's happening. So let's go on to the next video, because if we stay on Bala Mohammed, we will never move off of Bala Mohammed. So we're going to be talking about the next video that we're going to be showing, which tells us about what are they actually doing. So let us go to that next video that's talking about changing the dynamics of Nigeria, and then we will obviously talk about the state indigent bill, because that falls pretty much very well here, because this is what we're talking about.
Sorry, no sound.
People are being killed, and the government is not doing anything.
Can't hear the sound on that one.
Okay, you can't hear the sound?
No.
Okay, give me a second. There's something going on here. Just give me a second. Actually, I might go on to the next video while I sort out, what the problem is there. I'll go on to the next video and then sort out what might be going on there. Let's see, there's something here. Let me just make sure that it is showing that, because this should be all set up already. So just give me a second. Let me just make sure that, okay, let's see, let's get started here. And just make sure that this one is showing while I figure out why that one does not have any sound. Okay, so we're gonna go to the video from Southern Kaduna, where he's talking about what's going on there. And hopefully we won't have the same issue with the sound.
Okay, I think.
Program in my state, a similar program of a RUGA settlement. Was not called RUGA.
Can you hear this one?
Yes, I can.
Government approved land that was taken from the natives in Zangokata and Kachia local government and created a grazing reserve. And they call it Kachia Grazing Reserve. By 1990, it was changed to Laduga Grazing Reserve. And Laduga is a Fulani word. And today, as I'm talking, it was an initial landmass of 30 hectares of land that was taken from the natives, no compensation. And up to now, no single native that is there that can even go there. If you go, you cannot even enter that place as a native. And huge development is taking place. Big buildings, big hospitals, you don't even know what is going on there in Laduga. And it has been surreptitiously increased in size to 70,000 hectares. And so if we have this Laduga, 70,000 or 70? 70,000. Even it was 30,000 as taken initially. From 30,000, it has been increased to 70,000. And it is still there. So there is the plan is to replicate this Laduga model all over the nation, thereby changing democracy, the political democracy, the demography, the economic demography, the social demography, the cultural demography of a people all over the nation, and Fulanize every place in the nation. These are fears that you have. These are fears. These are not only fears. This is something that is happening to me. Yes. Even testimony. This is something that you've seen happen. Something that we have seen happen in Kaduna State, in Southern Kaduna. And we, the land of our people, we cannot get there. We cannot go to farm. We cannot, this is the land that was taken over from the people. It was not compensated for, and we cannot go there to farm. We have become second-class citizens in our own state, in our own country, and somebody is saying that it is fears, only fears. This is real. The fear is real, and the replication of this model all over the country, and the intent is real. We have IDPs scattered all over this country. Now it is rainy season. Several hundred communities are living in the rain. They have living in the scorching sunshine. They are now living in the rain. They cannot get back to their farm. They will be starving. They don't have medication. And nobody has talked of establishing exclusively, settlements for such category of citizens of the country. Only to talk about RUGA, that the RUGA settlements will bring about peace between herders and farmers. How will it bring about peace between herders and farmers? And we are saying, even in the northwest region, there is a category that has been displaced in Katsina and Zamfara and other states of the core north by this armed banditry. And they are all IDPs within the country. Nobody has thought of creating any settlements for such category of people. And we are talking about RUGA. So this program from the onset has some ulterior motive.
Okay.
Could I ask what an IDP is? I don't know what that means.
Okay. IDP is a term that encompasses the internally displaced people as opposed to refugees who have left the country. So in Nigeria, between the Fulani Herdsmen and Boko Haram, we have over almost 5 million people that have been chased from their lands, okay, and put into this absolute squalid conditions, ignored by the federal government as they are spending money on RUGA to bring in foreign Fulani in one fold into Nigeria. And
Um,
as I was asking an honorable, poverty level, Nigeria is the poverty capital of the world, with over 100 million of its indigenous citizens of Nigeria, over 100 million living in poverty, but they are building ranches for foreign Fulani. And don't think that this isn't going on today, because it is. I'll let somebody else make a comment. Honorable, it looks like you're dying to make a comment, but let me just say one thing. He said that he saw Hausa youth. Hausa youth. Hausas are indigenous to Nigeria. There's no such thing as Hausa Fulani, which is a false narrative that was coined by the Fulani to act as if they've always been in Nigeria. But history does not lie. History does not lie. The Fulani did not originate from Nigeria, did not even come into the area until the late 18th century AD, while the indigenous have been there since BC. So the Hausa youth are talking about their people being killed and the federal government doing nothing. Right? Federal government doing nothing. We're talking about the intentional, right? This is what we're talking about, the intentional destruction of a people. This is one of the definitions that it gives, the intentional destruction of a people. So we've looked at foreign Fulani that are benefiting from RUGA and what this RUGA means. I think the definition of RUGA is a colony. So pasteurization, RUGA has nothing to do with pasteurization, but the intentional destruction of the indigenous Nigerians, as we have seen, because they're spending money to bring them in, while 100 million of true indigenous Nigerians have been forced into abject poverty, and the federal government is doing nothing about that. Now, we also took a look at the video that we just saw that is talking about the Fulanization agenda and the federal government removing rightful owners of the land with no compensation. And these are very poor farmers. Now we know why there's so much poverty going on in Nigeria. So I will let one of you make a comment while I queue up that video that we had not watched, is talking about changing the demography again. I mean, so we've got those two videos about
yes, Jane.
demography.
Yeah, just want to make a quick comment on your statement that the federal government is doing nothing. We need to put that in perspective. The federal government is doing something. Whatever it's doing is just not in the best long-term interest of the indigenous people that elected him to serve. Are you there?
Yes, go ahead. Sorry, I'm trying to fix that video.
A democratic government is supposed to be a government of the people, by the people, for the people. The federal government that we have is a government of the elites, by the elites, for the caliphate. So what the government is doing everything to serve the interest of the elites to the benefit of the caliphate. Because by just saying the government is not doing something, then of course we are fueling the flame for the continuation of the current political electoral system, that we need a government that will do something. Whatever government you put in place will seem to do nothing, when in fact they'll be doing something that will be furthering the interest of the caliphate.
Right, right. Just to clarify, we're saying they're doing nothing to help the 4 to 6 million displaced indigenous rightful owners of the land. And they've taken their land to give to Fulani, foreign Fulani, and they're doing nothing, right? They're doing nothing for the indigenes that have been displaced from their land, and they're living in squalid conditions in IDP camps, right? So that's what we're saying, they're doing nothing for those they have displaced. The government displaced those people. And then the Fulani herdsmen displaced more. And they have just been abandoned in this squalid IDP camps? Honorable comments while I try to make this other video work.
One thing we should have in mind, we're not just saying it new, it's something all of us knew, is what every sources have been saying. General Danjuma, even not somebody I have always said this, not somebody I should have trusted on his word, but by his age and personalities, and maybe realizing himself at a very late, very wrong and very late, he made us knew that the federal government collude.
Right.
He said they collude. He said
we'll be showing that video next when we get to the next section.
So they prepared their way. They are giving them the aid. That's what we have. The government that's supposed to serve the people are now working against the people.
Okay.
Recently, but somebody has the courage to say, why should farmer be in the farm when he was not asked to do? It simply means now that we are not even serving our homes. In fact, the same thing is trying to come up. I saw if not use your call one day, telling the farmers to go to farm when they should go to farm and go home. When you go home, you don't know what is happening in your farm.
Absolutely.
Hello?
Absolutely.
Yeah, we hear you.
Then when you say somebody should, there be a time you should be at a given place.
So along the Kwatara Kankara.
Sorry. Go ahead. Sorry. That was unintentional. Go ahead. Sorry, Ogarako.
No. So when you say a man in his environment, is in his territory, should have a time he should be at a given place. What has the other time when he's not there? What happens those other times he's not there?
So I will answer that question, Ogaraka. I'm gonna find some of the videos that show what the herdsmen are actually doing. So now that you brought that up, but let's listen to this. Went
to Kwatarakwashi. So along the Kwatarakwashi Kankara Funtua route, I saw Hausa youths blocking the road. And when I asked what is this, they say their people are being killed and the government is not doing anything. I noticed that a lot of the headsmen that I talk to, they don't speak English. They don't speak Hausa. Because I said, hey, Mutumina, he kept quiet. I said, may I say, why is he not talking? He kept quiet. And they say, they should stop speaking French. And they say, tout parler français. He said, oui. And he starts feeling comfortable. And as we continue to talk, I found some of these people are from Mali, some from Mauritania. Now, what we are saying is, are we having settlements built for imported populations? Because as I'm talking to you right now, there are no Nigerians from Kanu, from Sokoto, from Katsina, applying to be moved from their current homes into bushes somewhere else. It does not exist anywhere in this country. So we see a strategy to import populations from the sub-region and then use them to displace and alter demographics. This is not, that's why the government, when they say they're suspending, if you watch President Buhari's his way, he employs Takia. And I understand the Polaco very well. So, yes, he could say one thing because, as the gentleman rightly mentioned, it's the same Takia he uses, deception. He said first grazing reserve. The country said no. He came back again, he said cow colony. We said no. Because the only thing in this game is land. The child is Jos. I go to Jos, I see people displaced. Why are they not returned back to their homelands? Why is the government trying to now import people to resettle on that land?
Okay, guys, this is very clear and to the point. Very clear.
I have heard that same
point.
Argument.
Let's kind of focus on what he said.
That's what I was going to say.
Because this is about the intentional destruction of a people, and that's what all these videos are showing.
He said there, the people that are being brought in did not understand the local language. And he said, when they spoke French, they understood. That meant they came from French-speaking African or West African countries. Those are the people who our government now want to resettle. Our government is doing something. They're succeeding in what they want to do. It's just that they don't have anything to do for us. They are not for us. Buhari, that man that put over there, if he's the real Buhari, like people keep saying he's dead, I don't know, but he is not our president. People should forget calling him our president. He is their president. He's done everything they wanted him to do and more, and he's going to continue to do that till the day he leaves office. Now, whether
and even after, right?
And even after, because they're setting all this stuff up to continue. And that's why some people have said we have got to take down the Constitution, because anybody who gets elected under that Constitution is only perpetrating the fraud. The fraud is going to continue. Can we let that fraud continue? If the answer is no, we've got to do something about it.
Okay, so I just saw a couple of headlines. One where Buhari is talking about that the Fulanese carrying AK-47s are not Nigerians. They're from Mauritania, etc., etc. Well, isn't that what RUGA is, bringing those people in? Mm-hmm. And did Bala Mohammed not tell us that all these foreign Fulanese are coming in for a reprisal? I'm not really sure what they're revenging against, because I haven't seen, the death of, hundreds of thousands of Fulani in Nigeria, right? So
the revenge is the revenge from them losing their holy war. Because remember, that thing only took down the houses. Everybody else, they didn't get that. So maybe their revenge is we didn't complete it then, so we want to complete it now. Maybe that's the revenge.
Well, again, that might be the case. But I mean, it's clear here, bandits are Fulani. Fulani Herdsmen carrying AK-47 and not Nigerians. So why is the government continuing to build these colonies? Stephen, help me here while I bring up the current federal government abuse of the fact that RUGA was defeated. They are moving forward with it. So I'm going to show some headlines here that show it very clearly.
Brother Stephen, you want us to talk? We want you to talk. I think he's gone away.
Stephen, are you muted?
No, he's not there. He's not there.
Okay, so let me just share this headline here. If RUGA was defeated, remember he talked about takia. Takia means lying in the name of your religion. Takia, lying. Takia. This is May 1st, 2022. Federal government to establish 119 ranches in Benue, Taraba, others. This is the Middle Belt. This is the Middle Belt. And in 2022, the federal government is going ahead with RUGA that was rejected by the National Assembly. This is 2022. That's what takia means. The federal government lying and continuing to use, 80% federal money and 20% state money to be given to foreign Fulani to come and settle, be gathered in Nigeria. Bala Mohammed issued that call to all Fulanis around the world
to come to Nigeria.
In Nigeria. And here is proof positive that the Buhari government is driving. We're not talking about complicity here anymore. They are driving this agenda. 119 ranches using Nigeria money, while 100 million indigenous Nigerians are living in abject poverty. That's what we're talking about. Okay.
Quick comment.
Go ahead, Stephen.
In the comment you just made, I even saw an element of economic genocide there. When you said the federal government is using Nigeria's money.
Absolutely.
Okay, that's economic genocide, because there's no such thing as the federal money or Nigeria's money.
No.
80% of what is considered the federal government money comes from the indigenous citizens.
Mm.
And that money is being used to take their lands from them. That's economic genocide. Thank you.
Yes, economic genocide. Again, that's what we're talking about. 100 million indigenes living in abject poverty, while the federal government and now state government is building ranches for the Fulani. What in the world is going? Was RUGA not defeated in the National Assembly? This is what we're talking about, Takia. Let me show you guys what's going on in Lagos State.
Okay, my state.
Yes, Lagos State. So you guys can understand what we're talking about. Look at that.
Oh no.
They're setting up ranches.
Oh,
Wow.
no.
The video that we
Wow.
watched that talked about the fact that all of these settlements are going to be
I never knew
created
that.
in every state.
That is appalling.
In every state. So the federal government is taking over the whole of the middle belt to put in 119. Lagos. And I believe there's another state, I think it's Katsina, that I think that it's Katsina that is building ranches. I can't be certain about that. So let me take a look. And that was, this was most recently. So let me pull that up. But you guys, that's why these videos are important, to show the intention, right? We're talking about the intentional destruction of a people, setting up these ranches in the middle belt, in Hausa land, in the South. It's intentional destruction of a people. Governor Massari to build 6 billion ranches, 6 billion naira ranches in Katsina. Are you guys frightened?
Mhm.
Are you guys seeing
Disgusted.
lines up when we're talking about genocide and we're talking about the intentional destruction of
Of the
people.
lives
This
lives
is
and
what we're
livelihood.
talking about.
Yeah.
We are not just making it up. We are not making it up. The intentional destruction of a people. So now let's talk about the Water Resources Bill and the State Indigent Bill, because we're talking about intentional destruction of a people. And these two bills are incredibly egregious. Incredibly egregious. Water Resources Bill. So who wants to talk a little bit about that while I pull up some information to share on that? The Water Resources Bill.
The Water Resources Bill, as I can see it, is that the federal government now wants to take all the waterways, all the water resources from whoever owns them as of present, and are going to take them into the ownership by the federal government, as if they haven't done enough damage to everybody. When they do that, that is certain the last piece of what resources that the people possibly own, and they are now going to dispute it, distribute it as they see fit. So since they've got all these ranches, they've now got all these water, haven't they? So here's the water as well for free from these stupid Nigerians who know nothing, because we let them run riot over us when we shouldn't. So basically, we deserve it. That's as far as they're concerned. I think whatever they can get away with, if we let them get away with it, it's our fault, unfortunately.
So
It's our
we
fault.
are talking about taking over all the water. They want to take over all the water. They reintroduced this. Because election fever is up and running, they're reintroducing this so that they can try to sneak it in without people understanding what is going on, right? The moves by the federal government to take over the control of all water banks, including its streams and all resources therein, as an attempt to completely take over assets of the already oppressed indigenous people in the country. This is a statement that was issued by lots of organizations led by UNIPA and Yoruba Ronu, and we had lots of other organizations that issued a statement as well. But this is what we are talking about. They also said it's an attack on universal federalism and an exhibition of wickedness on the part of the Nigerian government, which it said, if passed, would further weaken the states and local governments that are already in bankruptcy due to usurpation of their functions. Talk to me, Stephen. Water resources, the borehole in your backyard will belong to the federal government.
Absolutely. It goes without saying that the reemergence of the Water Resources Bill is a continuation of the economic genocide that we've been talking about. Not only is the federal government taking over access to the waterways of Nigeria, it's also taking over 3 miles, I believe, on each side of the bank.
7 miles on each side. 7 miles on each side of the banks. Which is
essentially not just taking over the land, not just taking over the mineral resources around those areas, but also taking control of the food basket of the indigenous people of the southern Nigeria, as we know it. So we see the colonization agenda taking place in the form, at this particular instance, through the Water Resources Bill, of the land of the people. You may recall in the previous bill, the federal government wanted to take over indirectly the local government, take authority over the local government.
It was definitely in the, please mute your lines, thank you. It was definitely in the, if you recall, when they were going through the fraudulent 1999 Constitution Amendment, they did have that in there, where the local government will now be reporting directly to the federal government. All they're trying to do is take control of everything. That's what's called apartheid. This is what is called apartheid, because every revenue generating section in Nigeria is led by this migrant Fulani. And the indigents cannot even go against it by bringing up federal character, because in that fraudulent 1999 Constitution, you cannot litigate federal character. That 1999 Constitution is driving apartheid, it's driving the murders and genocide of Christians and other indigents. It is making it impossible for those in the middle belt to the south and the Hausas to rule themselves. And this is made possible by the way that the British set up the numbers to actually benefit the migrant Fulani over the indigenous Hausa, Igbo, Yoruba, Ijaw, Biram, and all the others, right? Yoruba. They set this up to disadvantage the owners of the land and made this foreigners, gave these foreigners the numbers. And here, Water Resources Bill, Autumn, is very clear as to what the intent of that Resources Bill. We won't allow federal government to take over Benue land. Well, wait. How can water resources result in the takeover of the land? Well, that's exactly what our people need to understand, right? Because they keep bringing it up, and they have brought it up this time. Right? Under the, during where we have the obedience, the Hippolytes, and they articulated while they're duking it out. The federal government wants to sneak this in. And so Autumn says, speaking at the flag off of the distribution of seedings in Makati, the governor decried the agenda of the federal government to seize land from the 36 states of the Federation. Autumn said categorically that Benue will not surrender its land in whatever guise to the federal government. Let me say emphatically that there will be no water resources bill in Benue State. We will resist it. If other states encourage it, here in Benue, we will not accept it. The other time they brought water resources bill, we said no. Now they are bringing the evil bill again. It is evil, plain, an evil plan to take over waterways. Powerful statement. Nigerians, indigenous Nigerians must pay attention. This couldn't be any clearer. Honorable, what are your thoughts on what the Benue governor has said? And what should we as indigents be saying to our own governors, our House of Rep, the senators, the local government area? What should we be telling them about this evil water resources bill? Honorable, you need to unmute.
One issue about the approach different people give to the situation in Nigeria is what makes it a little flexible. We saw Autumn launching out a security outfit in the state, and a very strong statement that they are made up to fight and defend their land. It simply means there is a clear declaration of war, of which some people, federal government is playing it down. I was happy too when this 17 was done in Odo and a good number of Yoruba land. Unfortunately, the embargo of Southeast, instead of serving the purpose for which it was created, is now becoming an instrument of, what do you call it? Fighting against its own people, unfortunately.
Yeah.
That simply means the so-called security outfits is serving different purposes in different places.
Yeah. True.
While some are aiding even the federal government to what do you call it? To continue with its Fulanization agenda. Some other people are defending their people. Having said that, you see, everything has time. Buhari and his government, maybe there's instrument that brought them the power, and unfortunately, they had allegiance to that, and that's exactly what we're having the result. You can't get alternative to that. The Constitution too, that overempowered the office of a president, also is faulty on this, and that's why one of the major proposals we were making before was to have this Constitution changed. I'm happy this is in the mind of a good number of Nigerians today. I think it has always been, but I think as time goes on, people start having courage to say and speak against it. And we'll get there, and we definitely will get there. South Africa had this point,
Honorable, can you make because everyone thinks that if we just have a president from the Middle Belt to the South or Hausa, that they can change things. Can they really win this?
There is a process. There is a process of doing things, and this process is one of the things, the structures that the so-called Fulanis have been making to the advantage for a long time. Absolutely. We have given the analysis of Lagos and Old Kaduna, is that we are having the same number of local governments. Yes. Today, the same Kaduna state has 3 states and has almost 120 local governments. And then Lagos state is still with 20 local governments. When these structures are being bastardized in favor of a given purpose, yes, whenever anybody comes, it may be a little difficult, but it's also better that we have a way of coming back to it. Because I remember when Jonathan called for Constitutional Assembly, there were a lot of agreements that are there. People came in and confronted themselves, and then a lot of issues was agreed. Unfortunately, even the people, the APC, what do you call it, campaign that they will implement it. Today, this is what we have, 8 years after. Nobody's talking about that. Nigeria must have to change, must have to redesign its structure, redesign its existence, and redesign its ideas. Somebody said, how can we know what is happening if history is not taught at school? Unfortunately, those things need to be reversed. So there's need to change, to have a leadership that has this true Nigerian mindset into place, not Fulani mindset. Fulani mindset has not helped this country, I must let you know.
Right. So one of the things that we do have to say is that NINAS, which is the Nigerian Indigenous Nationalities Alliance for Self-Determination, has been at this since this 1999 fraudulent constitution was put in place. And they have made it clear, until that constitution goes down, it's going to make it impossible for the indigents to stop the killing and to be able to get any justice, because citizen rights cannot take it to court. Federal character cannot take it to court. And that's why you see, when you look at the universities today, chancellors and vice chancellors, Fulani, NMPC, Fulani, any of the revenue generating avenues in Nigeria, Fulani. So what has now happened to the owners of the land? The indigenous people have been effectively removed from the ownership of their own land, ownership of their assets, and now they want to take over all the waterways. That is pure apartheid, and that is what's driving this genocide. Now let's listen to this video that Stephen brought about what's going on with the Hausas. These are indigenous to Nigeria, as certain as the Fulanis are not indigenous to Nigeria, and there's no such thing as a Hausa Fulani tribe.
Sokoto. I want to give you a history that you all know and the future that is about to happen today. We have this saying that all the North, especially our brothers from the East, they used to call us the Hausas, generally in the North. But we want to tell you something. We, the Hausas, we have differentiated ourselves now from the Fulanis. Yes, this is why I want you to stay. Pause first and share the video to go so that some people should know. The Hausa people now are against the Fulani people squarely. It is nothing you can do about this now. And you know, from the beginning to whatever it is, the Fulani people has been ruling this country, not the Hausa people. The Fulani has emirates everywhere around the north, not we the Hausa people. Now, there is something that happened that I want to tell you that is the future. You know, the Hausas, we the Hausas have given up on the Fulanis. And like it is, we are having some clash. I want to tell you this clash now is the clash of the titans. Because something happened within the Fulanis. We know we in the Sokoto state, we have villages. Some villages belong to the Fulanis and some villages belong to the Hausas. All the attack in Sokoto state, there is no one attack in the villages of the Fulani people. It's all in the Hausas. And now the Hausas have already opened their eyes. They are now aware of what is happening. There is one attack that happened last 2 weeks. I want to tell you that comes about all of these things. It is the attack that happened, the Fulani man and the Hausa. We, the Hausa, we don't rear cow, we don't rear anything that, but rather we farm. We grow crops. Now the Fulani man came and then entered to someone's farm. This is the rainy season time. Entered to somebody's farm, ate the crop, and the man now plant something and now put a poison the cow. The following day, the Fulani kingdoms are waiting for him in his farm. When he came, they killed him at once. That is what triggered this unity now between the Hausa and the Fulani. And when you see us now, we are ready to change everything. In all the political parties in Nigeria, that you see a Hausa man going out around campaign, go and check. It's a Fulani man, not a Hausa man. A Hausa man has not ruled this country. We have been in peace before Usman the Fodio come to Nigeria. He has come and then divide us from our brothers, the real Nigerians, the Igbos, the Yoruba, and the Hausas. Now the Fulani has taken over everything from us. They have deceived our great-grandfathers, they deceived our grandfathers, they deceived our fathers, and now it is our time. Thank God for the social media that you can hear this and share. Let it go viral to everywhere so that people will know that There is a division now between the Hausa and the Fulani. And I'm telling you, next segment you see what we want to tell you.
Okay. This is incredibly important information that the Hausas are coming up. And let me say again, Hausa Fulani, there is no such tribe. It's a lie. There is no such tribe, and I dare any historian to tell me the origin of Hausa Fulani. It's a lie. There's Hausas, there's Fulani who came in late 18th century AD into Nigeria. And the fact that they are taking everything, they have pretty much put themselves in position of power everywhere in Nigeria. And that is why you see Buhari instituting RUGA everywhere. This is how you see them turbaning terrorists. They are turbaning a terrorist as a Seriki, as a local leader that is wanted for terrorism. And the neighboring state says that he can't do anything about it. Where is the federal government? They are putting emirs, the middle belt to the south. We are not an emirate. We're not a conquered people, at least not officially, but as you can see, that is happening. So thank you very much, Stephen, for bringing this.
Yeah, that was very good. I like that one, Miss Stephen. That's great. This now.
No, Paula, we do have to move on. Sorry, I don't mean
okay, sorry.
Let me move on because we're running a little behind as usual. So sorry about that. Let's kind of, and then you can make the comment as we move forward. Let me kind of go to where we are now, where we need to be. Okay, so we've been talking about the intentional destruction of a people, right? So let's look at the UN definition, okay? Let's look at the UN definition. The UN definition has to do with something similar. It says the United Nations definition defines genocide as any of the following acts committed with intent to destroy in whole or in part a national, ethical, racial, or religious groups as such, killing members of the group, causing serious bodily or mental harm to members of the group, deliberately inflicting on the group conditions of life calculated to bring about its physical destruction in whole or in part, imposing measures intended to prevent births within the group, forcibly transferring children of the group to another group. Right? So we're talking about the Fulanization agenda. We've talked about this, right? Headline, giving land for ranching better than death. This was Buhari in January 4th of 2018. 2022, they're establishing ranches. They're establishing RUGA colonies in the Middle Belt. And then we saw Bala Mohammed and his RUGA lies. And we saw the video that is talking about the change in the demography. So now let's talk about Fulani killings in Nigeria. And yes, it's genocide. We're going to look at the video from Danjuma, and then we're going to talk about, is this really, who are these people that are being destroyed? We need to talk about that, because to establish that it's genocide, we need to establish who are these people. But let's listen first to T.Y. Danjuma, retired General T.Y. Danjuma, that was talking about, what is going on in Nigeria. And again, this is a video that everyone needs to watch over and over. And that's why we show it, because it goes to intent, intentional destruction. And what is going on? Ethnic cleansing, the destruction of a people. And he did not mince words. Let's listen.
The peace in this state is under assault. There's an attempt at ethnic cleansing in this state, and of course in all the riverine states of Nigeria.
Can you guys hear it?
Yeah.
Okay.
We must resist it. We must stop it. Every one of us must rise up. The armed forces are not neutral. They collude. They collude. They collude with the armed bandits. They kill people, kill Nigerians. They facilitate their movements. They cover them. If you are depending on the armed forces to stop the killings, you will all die one by one.
Okay, that is very clear what he's talking about, right? That is very clear.
Oops.
Ethnic cleansing, destruction of a people, deliberate ethnic cleansing in the riverine areas. And as we heard in that prior video, the Hausas were the first to be killed, right? We saw that in history. Otman Danfodio carried out a campaign killing the Hausas, who are indigenous to Nigeria, and bringing extremists. So we've got a couple of things going on. We've got the Fulanization agenda, and then we have radical Islamic agenda going on in Nigeria as well. So in other words, indigenes are facing an existential threat, one greater than what you see in Afghanistan, because in Afghanistan, they're not moving around. Here in Nigeria, we have the Fulanese. In Ghana, we've got the Fulanese. Central African Republic, the Fulanese. Niger, the Fulanese. Mali, the Fulanese. The menace is spreading all across West Africa and beyond in an attempt to, quote unquote, dip the Quran. Polade, let me finish, please. Dip the Quran into the ocean and take over. So this is an Arabification agenda. It's a radical Islamization agenda. And the world needs to pay attention, because this is not just about Nigeria. Because if anyone Googles the Fulani militia, they are the number 3 or number 4 on the global terrorist index. That's where they are. And Nigeria right now is second in the most terrorized nation, second of the most terrorized nation in the world. What does that tell you? We've got Arabs, because Fulani are part Arabs, that are making inroads, that are supporting, bringing all Fulani into the fold in Nigeria, because Nigeria is and has been called the giant of Africa and has the potential to lift Africa out of its third world status. But not if we have these Fulanis who are taking over, who have put the people, the indigenes, in an apartheid situation and are now systematically killing the people. Let's see the numbers. Okay, we're going to talk about the numbers, and then we'll talk about, sort of what's going on. So, ethnic, national, racial, or religious. We're talking about the Middle Belt of South and the Northern Hausas. These are the indigenes, as you heard in that video, right? That video was very clear about who is being killed. We have villages that belong to, that the Fulanis have taken over, and those were the Hausas, and all this agitation is in the Hausa section in the far north. The Middle Belt, Benue, Taraba, Southern Kaduna. You know why Southern Kaduna? Because Southern Kaduna,
because they're Christians.
Christians and other indigenous Nigerians live, not in Northern Kaduna. Talk about Taraba. Okay, so the Middle Belt is a huge land area. Plateau State, they have been being killed mercilessly. Why? Because the Middle Belt, led by the Tiv people, back in the day of Otman Danfodio, defeated their attempt to take over all of Nigeria. But while they have now conquered it economically, they're trying to now bring in their people to take over the land, the waterways, etc. And that's what Danjuma is talking about. We must resist it. In the meantime, genocide is going on, and we'll talk about the numbers. So who are being killed? Middle Belt of South and Northern Hausas. Christians, moderate Muslims, and other non-extremist Muslims, and then other folks who are not practicing either religion that we're talking about. Killing members of the group. You heard Autumn talk about it. We've heard different accounts as to the fact that the people that are being killed, they're not in the far north. And if they are the Hausas, not the Fulanis that are being killed. So certain ethnic groups, the indigenous ethnic groups of Nigeria are being killed. The Christians of Nigeria are being killed. And all the positions, and I think somebody made a mention about Dangote having all these monopolies. Dangote is a Fulani. All these monopolies that have been taken away from the indigenous states and given to a Fulani to increase, as Stephen mentioned, the economic genocide, the economic strangulation that is leading to this genocide. So I am going to show here genocide of Christians. They ignore genocide of Christians in Nigeria. This has been going on for a while. But, you know, the world is not talking about the genocide. They're talking about herder-farmer conflict. Why? Why? Christian genocide in Nigeria. The ongoing slaughter of Christians in Nigeria at the hands of Islamic extremists missed the established international standards for genocide, the Colson Center reports. The International Christian Concern Advocacy Group reported in 2020 that between 50,000 to 70,000 Christians have been killed by Islamic terrorists. The Open Doors USA Advocacy Group reported this year that one Nigerian Christian is killed in their faith every 2 hours, 13 a day, 375 a month. Then we had that staggering information that came from the United Nations that talked about the fact that it is 350,000 people that have been killed. So, panel, what are we talking about here? Who are the people that are being killed? From the information that we have been looking at, who are the people that are being killed? We see clearly that we're not talking about the Fulanis, we're talking about the indigents. And this is what Amnesty International has to say about it. This is the Ondo massacre that we talked about earlier. Gunmen in Nigeria enjoy impunity, must face justice. Who are these gunmen? Katsina Governor told us.
It's another cover for government agents that we don't know.
Yeah, actually bandits. We had the Katsina Governor tell us, we know who these bandits are.
Yeah. Yes.
They are Fulani. There's no ifs, buts, or wherefores about it. They are Fulani. But in a way, you're kind of saying it too, because a few months back, we took a look at the video where the Fulani, some of the Fulanis in Nigeria say, we did not buy these weapons. The federal government gave us these weapons. We don't know how to do weapons. But the Buhari also, as we showed earlier, and we have been showing, said that these Fulanis carrying AK-47s are not Nigerians. They're from Mauritania. But aren't those the people that he's bringing in through RUGA? So what exactly is he saying? He's admitting that he's bringing in those people on the RUGA. They're coming in with AK-47s, and the government has done nothing. Nothing to stop them. You can see Amnesty International asking the question, why? Why are they not being prosecuted? Right? Why are they not being prosecuted?
There's
go ahead and make a quick comment on that. So
okay. If you bring in other people from outside your country to help you in the political situation, as happened here in 2015, when the time comes, you will lose control over them. This is what's happening, and it's not what's happening, because they still have a bit of control over these people, but eventually they are not going to have control over the people, and then the real Fulani, or their leadership will come out and say, right, we are the Fulani, we are the leadership, this is what we want to do, and they're going to let everybody know what they want to do at that point. At the moment,
so we're kind of trying to focus on who are the people, right? because we're trying to make the case that there is genocide and that what's going on in Nigeria is meeting the standards, right? The standards that we looked at already as to what constitutes genocide. We saw where it has to do with the intentional destruction of a people. And we have seen the programs, we've shown a few videos to show the intent and who it is directed against, right? And then we have the UN definition that talks to, a few of the things it talks to is ethnic, national, racial, or religious killings, right? Where the killings of that group causing serious bodily or mental harm. And so that's what we are establishing by what is going on. We're showing, there is genocide of Christians because they're the most numbers. So now, as we talk about numbers, let's talk about the numbers. Stephen, let's talk about the numbers. Let's talk about the numbers now.
The numbers are staggering. To begin with, we have over 4 million people in IDP camps, of which 400,000 of them are refugees in other countries. These refugees are people that have left their ancestral lands for fear of their lives. Is either become a refugee or become a genocide statistic. In the last 5 to 7 years, according to the United Nations reports, about 350,000 indigenous people of the land, mostly the southern, the Hausas of southern Kaduna and other areas where the indigenous Hausas resided, have been killed. And that is where the genocide is. As we see in the last video that was just read about the Hausa youth that is now rising up, all the killing that we've been hearing is actually been one-sided. It's Fulani killing Hausas, which goes to the fact that there is no tribe in northern Nigeria as Hausa Fulani. It's the rules that was used to cover the conquering agenda of the Fulanis and make it very
palatable.
Thank you to the Hausas, because so the Hausas could see the Fulanis as their Muslim brothers.
There were no
right. But now let's talk about this. We've talked about the fact that herder-farmer conflict is complicity. It's pure and simple complicity. Because how can you just ignore the fact that these herders have no right to the lands and they're murdering, murdering, massacring the owners of the land? And the world says, oh, that's fine because there's climate change. But we know that's not the case, right? Because we've got lots of places around the world that have deserts, but they have ranches.
I can comment on that.
Right, go ahead.
We can explain the global community's complicity by their benefiting from the chaos. Yes. In the midst of the chaos, the global community, in particular the Western world, specifically the United Kingdom, can continue to pilfer the resources of the economy while we are so busy trying to survive. The global media will look the other way. Will look the other way because the tool of the economic genocide, Dangote, okay, is pouring billions in advertisement dollars into the global media. So they cannot afford to say anything, albeit the truth, about what is really going on.
Wow. Wow.
Yes.
So we see that there's a video that I'm trying to find. Stephen, I don't know if you have that video. If you recall that video where there's a discussion as to why Africa is being held back and why the Western
I think I got that.
Why the Western world is holding back Africa. I'm trying to find that video because we haven't played that video yet. And it is important.
Oh, Balade, do you have it?
I have it, but I've got to look for it.
Oh,
I
okay,
know,
okay.
because I don't know where it is here either. So, but that's one that, you know, I think at the next week when we're going to talk about, let's play that video at the beginning of next week. So we'll have time to find it then. We'll play that video because it's important. It's important for people to really understand what's going on, because we've got various of those videos pointing out exactly why. If you remember, what is that lady's name? I keep forgetting her name.
I know what the former
Of the,
African Union ambassador.
African Union,
Exactly.
yeah, I've got something on
Where
that as well.
she brought up what France was doing to the Francophone countries that were supposedly had gotten their independence, where they were taking 100% of their money, then
Yes.
giving them 25%.
Exactly.
And then if they needed more money, they would loan them
That
from
money.
their 75% of their own money at exorbitant interest. So France has been developing, and the African nations are mired
they're going-
in debt.
And then Mali
We're
said it's no
giving
longer
loans
happening.
of their own money. Dear Lord, if this isn't like egregious, I don't know what is. Nigeria is replete with gold, with minerals, with all kinds of things, and yet even our oil, supposedly, the Fulani government is has over 80% that is being stolen. Who's stealing these things? Because when they are caught, I don't know if you guys saw those headlines. When they are caught, they go and get papers from this same government. What?
Yeah.
So
I've
government
heard-
is saying that the oil is being stolen.
I've
But
heard
you're
that
the
one.
people who are stealing the oil.
Exactly.
And they give them paperwork when they're caught.
When they steal it, when they go.
80% of the oil in Nigeria has been stolen under Buhari. Over 80%. Somebody help me.
But Buhari was the oil minister. Does anybody remember that? He's the
Oh,
oil
I
minister.
do remember.
Yeah.
Right, but 80% of the oil,
So
because we had, I don't know, Stephen, do you have that headline that talked about the fact that when OPEC released how much Nigeria has sold, we should not have taken any loans
loans at all.
No, we don't.
Any loans at all. Under Buhari, Nigeria has taken so much loans. And when we remember when Prof. Akintoye read that letter from the Fulani saying that they have all the money, of course they have all the money.
Yeah.
Dangote has he has the monopolies.
Yep.
The
Yes.
NNPC
Yep.
Yes.
is pretty much taken over by the Fulani.
By them, yeah.
Oil wealth is owned by the Fulani. All the
Yes.
revenue generating sectors is taken by the Fulani. Even the vice chancellors and the chancellors are now being given over to the Fulanis. Ogaraku, please help me here.
Rako, you moved it
Ogaraku,
again.
unmute. Let's talk
Unmute.
about this. What's going on here?
Rako, mute.
See,
Okay.
Brother Stephen said it before. There was a comment you are making, and then he said it is economic genocide. That has been there before now. If you look at the ministerial appointment of Buhari today, all the ministers from his area, none of his ministers from his area was a junior, none of them is a junior minister. All of them are senior ministers. Go to an NPC, 22%, almost 20 out of 22, they say they are all from Fulanis.
Yeah.
All the governors in the north are almost all of them Fulanis. Why? It is all those feudalist system that they have been using to. And this is exactly what they want to impose. In fact, he won an election in a democratic world. He said those who didn't vote for him,
Well,
he said those who didn't vote for him shouldn't get his favor. Those he wanted to get 100% of vote of Nigeria.
He did say that.
How can one reason that way?
Here are the Fulani's leaders of Nigeria.
Okay,
They're highlighted.
so what we're trying to say now, they have tried to squeeze Nigerian economy to the extent that everybody has to need to them to get what the little, the shit they give out. And this is exactly what is killing the country. Because before you talk of productivity, we have to talk of liberty of expression, liberty of engagement, liberty There's a lot of system that goes to Nigeria, around Nigeria now you may not know. Most of the contract people sign it without knowing the content. You just sign the paper and give it to some people. Some people, they do what they want to do. You know, else it will not work. And this is some people who enters universities with 20%, 20 marks. Others are going to 500 something. They are going to by 20 marks. Tomorrow, if they become the judges, the most intelligent people to head our institutions. And what are they? What are the results? That's Nigeria for you, unfortunately.
Absolutely.
You made a comment about people signing contract without knowing what they were signing.
Exactly.
A federal minister just admitted to signing multi-billion naira contract in Mandarin. Excuse me.
Don't know what? No, because
exactly.
You doesn't know it. Does he know what he signed?
Yes, he signed a multi-billion dollar contract.
But he doesn't know Mandarin.
In Mandarin.
Does he know Mandarin?
No, he doesn't.
He didn't care. They just told
exactly.
him, sign here.
Exactly.
They make you sign empty news, what do you call it?
Empty piece of paper. Yeah.
And then they put what they want on it.
Yeah. And they take down and you take your own. That's it. Turn by
turn.
Give
what they want, not even take your own and take your own. They give you what they want and then you go.
Well, let's talk about the fact that this is not only happening in Nigeria, right?
No.
I mean, because we have seen the type of loans that China is making to other African countries and taking over national institutions. Okay, this is what we're talking about that is going on in Africa. That is the poorest when they are the ones that it's pretty much rich
in everything,
right? But all of their wealth is being stolen. This is egregious, absolutely egregious, right? And so this is one of the things that's like really important for people to understand and for the world to know. This is genocide of a people. It meets all the criteria of all the definitions of genocide. So as we're rounding up now, let's talk about what can people do. Okay, let's talk about what can people do, because we've talked about the water resources bill. Now there's the state indigent bill, which is egregious. Oh my God, that is crazy, because that's happening in secret, people, as we are talking. It's been happening in secret because they brought it out as an amendment where these foreign terrorists in your forests will now become an indigent of your state and to change the demography. They bring them in through RUGA. They bring them in through open borders. They bring them in. And I saw the headline that the federal government is now going to take steps to make Nigerians, all those that cannot prove that they are Nigerians. Did you guys see those headlines this week?
No, I haven't seen that one.
Yes, they are taking steps to make this foreign Fulani. So if they cannot get it by the state indigent, that they are going to get it by making them
indigents.
They have no paperwork.
So me that I've lost my Nigerian passport now, I'm not a Nigerian. They do not have anyone. They don't have
any village where they can call their own.
So
right?
They're not going to say they came from my village and I've never seen them before. Or I've just seen them 5 years ago. They now owe me granddad's land. That's what's going to happen.
Right. So this is what they are doing. And that headline, I was trying to find that information, is that they are taking the steps to bring in these foreigners who have no proof that they are citizens, because our people will have proof. Their villagers know who they are, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so there should be nobody in Nigeria that
doesn't know
cannot prove their citizenship from their village. There isn't any. So this is another step, and I'm trying to find that headline. Another step where the federal government is trying to make these foreign Fulani become Nigerians, who have no documentation that they are Nigerians. But we as Nigerians know for a fact that there should be no question. Let them take us to their village and let the village elders identify them as Nigerians. We must rise up against this. This is in line with the Water Resources Bill. It's in line with the State Indigent Bill. It's in line with RUGA. It's in line with the 1999 Constitution, where they've created apartheid, and now they're wanting to change, bring in all these Fulanese and call them Nigerians. Let every person that does not have proof of Nigerian citizenship point to their village. Every village knows who their people are. There isn't a person who is a true Nigerian, who does not have a village, and whose village doesn't know who they are. But the federal government wants to circumvent that process. This just breaking, I think it was this week that broke, circumventing that process. So again, let's talk about what should the indigents be doing. Stephen, talk to me. Should they be engaging governors, House of Rep? Should they be engaging international organizations, ambassadors? What should they be giving? What should they be doing? So Stephen, and then I'm going to come to you, Honorable. And I think Paul is with us as well. What should the indigents be doing? And especially the diaspora, what should they be doing?
Charity, they say, begins at home. The indigents at the grassroots level should be engaging their legal representative, the administrative, legislative leaders on what is going on, because they are just being robbed in broad daylight of their ancestry. So citizens at the grassroots need to reach out to their senators and their legislators, while at the same time, citizens like us in the diaspora need to start letting our elected leaders in our communities know that this is what is going on. This is the true story, that contrary to the narrative that the Fulani narrative that the Fulani government is playing out is not really the truth. That there is genocide going on in a deliberate attempt to annihilate the indigenous people of the land area called Nigeria and replace them with the Fulanis that are not original to Nigeria. So there is an education and re-education campaign. See, I use the term re-education because we had a history before. Unfortunately, as part of the progressive genocide plan, history was removed. So the people that crossed generations, the generation that knew a little bit about the history of Nigeria and the generation that had a little bit of it, there's a gap in between them that needs to be filled. That's where the re-education comes in. And then there's education for the newer generation that didn't know anything at all. All they've ever known is Hausa Fulani.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Stephen, because our youth need to understand this, because they have been denied this information of who they are. They have been denied the information because there's no history in Nigeria that is teaching this, right? They have been denied the fact that the Fulani came to Nigeria and have been on a conquest mission, right?
Yep.
And so they need to know this. They need to see, and this is why this program is so important, because we bring all the stuff together so that they can see it, right? They can see exactly what's going on, okay? So, Honorable, what should people be doing? What should those in the diaspora be doing, Ogaraku? Should they be contacting ambassadors? Should they be talking to, to lawmakers in the UK, in the US, around the world? What should those in the diaspora be doing?
First of all, the young Hausa man who spoke in the video, he encourage that they will, with the use of a social network today, we can revise things that are covered. And look at it. Before now, as a young man, I grew up to a certain age. I never knew about some realities, put it this way, some histories. But with the social network today that has given us some liberties of engagement, issues can be revisited. Yes, there may not be a conventional teaching till certain policies are changed, but information can be exchanged. Most of the broadcasts we are doing here today try to give us informations, histories, updates of what seems to be the story of Nigeria before now, is helping in changing the narratives as they are. So I think all hands should be on deck.
Yeah.
On the, yes, okay. On the diaspora, something is very clear. There's need for us to unite in wherever you are, we are, to find a common ground to hold our government responsible. I hear what some of the contestants are saying here, where, yes, most time we feel that we should take advantage of our own person, our own friend who find himself in power. But what we are doing is adding corruption in that country. Yes, he comes in, he buys the house, he gives you a small portion of whatever he may have stolen. You are part of the whole system. We, the diaspora, should not be encouraging the what they call the politicians who find themselves here to come over here to squander our money, do their bad day here, buy properties here. Those things should be exposed to our people, and people should know. We should know when people are.
Citizens accountability. Thank you.
Accountability,
Exactly. Those things should be exposed, and then when most of them will be claiming innocence over their performance, we also tell them how much they stole from us, and knowing fully well that this is the Commonwealth. Yes, so.
Yeah, the Commonwealth. Yeah.
Can we talk about how much these politicians are paying themselves?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Can we talk about that? The highest in the world. The highest by far. Okay.
And while the economy is going down.
Okay, you need to go on camera so that we can
okay.
so that we can get you. Can you go on camera so that we can have you speak?
Good conversation.
Can you go on camera?
You know, somebody was asking what would diasporans do? What is the expectations from diasporans?
Can we see? Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and you know, you and I think, we met in New York during the United Nations Assembly. You remember, right?
Right.
And well, most Nigerians, every Nigerian, were called upon to come down to New York to challenge Buhari and all his ambassadors and the front they present in terms of Nigeria, which is false.
Right.
And we did. You were asking what would diasporas do? You know, it's a question that ponders my mind every single day. When Tony came here, him and I, we went to the Capitol Hill and the Senate and the White House. We met a lot of US politicians. And some of the questions those people posed to us was, if your country is this bad and these things are happening, why are your people here not reacting to the level that they can move the government or bring it to the attention of what is happening? Because most of us here are really complacent.
Yep.
It doesn't seem like anything is happening in our country. You can even see your brother supporting even politicians. Like now, everybody is shouting obedient.
Obedient.
You know?
Yeah, well, we got to Tinubu and articulated.
Tinubu and articulated.
I have asked
Emilio Khan.
I have asked most of them, please,
yes,
if they can channel this energy into bringing this government into a transitional one.
yes.
And so we all can have a plebiscite and referendum and talk about how whether we really want to continue to revive what Nigeria is, or let us have our own independent nations. Now, I think we can begin to think how we can mobilize hundreds of thousands of Nigerians now, if to go to the Senate House in Washington, D.C., and make a presentation and call upon a state of emergency, and to let this country know there's a clear and present danger that is going to affect them. We need to galvanize each one of us wherever we are. Let it be a strategy. I don't know, but if whatever part you want me to play in where I live in North Carolina. I can circulate that message. I can use my tools and platforms, because during the past presidential election of Joe Biden, I was the co-chair of the battleground state. I was in charge of all the southeastern state, starting from North Carolina, South, Georgia, all the way to Texas. I can mobilize Nigerians using my political platform to disseminate and engage everybody to come to Washington. I don't know about other states, but if we can probably set a date for a national movement that is going to stop what is happening. Because look, if these people go to election, and eventually somebody wins, it's over, because they are going to buy time to complete what they are planning.
Absolutely.
And that is what we do not want to happen. So I don't know who, I don't know what platform, I don't know how, but I'm thinking out loud, what can we do to sensitize, mobilize, let Nigerians not go to election, and if possibly have a national movement, or a meeting, or a conference, a million-man march, whatever we can call it, down to the Capitol here. Bring all the press, ward the press, and let them come. Let Nigerians come out in mass from all tribes to share.
From all organizations. This is what we've been calling for. All organizations. Come with your banner. All organizations.
Yes.
Because we've got the Yorubas meeting again in for UNGA this year.
Yeah.
And everyone needs to be there. This is not just a Yoruba story. This is
No.
Igbos, all
Igbos are doing it.
Yes. So we need to bring everybody down. So Ekeleka, your name is
no Ekeleka Mchuku, or Ekele, just call me Ekele.
Yeah, you know what? I don't have your number, so if you can put it in the chat, so that way I can get a hold of you, because the different things that we're trying to do using the media, we're talking about unity, media, mobilization, and ambassadorship. YUMA, this is what we're calling it. And so the mobilization piece is we're working with different organizations on the ground. So like in the Southeast, for instance, we're engaging seriously with the Igbo National Council as they are building infrastructure and putting up Ikwedashike magazine that comes out monthly to be able to sensitize our people. We're trying to put that mechanism, we're supporting them to put that mechanism in place. And Stephen can speak to the ground efforts in Yoruba land to mobilize the people, to educate the people, because this information that we're talking about is vital for our survival. It is absolutely vital for our survival. But the diasporans, with the amount of billions we send to Nigeria, there's no reason why our news should not be everywhere. We should be on CNN. We should be on ABC News. Maybe they're not carrying our news, but our commercial should play during the news. We have enough money. Guys, there are lots of things that we can do. Those in the United States, I sent out information. The Black Caucus is meeting at the end of September to October. Have you reached out to your representatives? Have you reached out to them? Have you told them about what's going on in Nigeria? Have you requested for an invitation to the gala that they hold in Washington, D.C., so that we can have our voices to be heard there? Have you reached out to the churches? There's Christian genocide going on. Have you reached out to your church? Gone in and talked to them about this? Because I reached out to Willow Creek in Illinois, one of the largest churches. And I said, there's genocide going on in Nigeria. You know, so we need aid for those in IDP camps. We need your voice to speak up, right? So all the large churches, in whatever country you are, there's a church. Have you reached out to them in where you live and asked them to raise their voices? Have you tweeted at the Pope to say, Pope, what are you doing? Your people are dying. Catholic priests have been abducted. They're being killed. What are you doing, Pope? These are things that we should be doing on a daily basis because we're being killed on a daily basis. Go ahead, Bala.
Yes, I know what we should do from diaspora. We could get our representatives. We live in Britain. I live in Britain. I should be able to call my member of parliament or my local government and say, do you know this is what's going on in Nigeria? Can you put it to the house? And maybe we should tell our people back home as well. Do you know the government does not just run for you. You can put things to the government. Go to your representative, go to your state house of assembly, put things to them, talk to the government, get to the governors, get to the local government, get to the federal thing, and talk to all of them.
The new Secretary of State to the United Kingdom is a Nigerian.
Oh, I didn't know that one. I better call
He's a Nigerian.
I got no excuse now because basically he's
Yoruba, right? The name of Kemi.
Kemi.
Oh, the lady. Oh,
yeah, okay. She's the new Secretary of State.
Yeah, so basically
Kamala Harris, right? She's a person of color. And her niece is Nigerian, is married to a Nigerian.
So we've got no excuse.
We've got lots of avenue diasporans. We should be doing more. We should be doing more. We should be committing our funds, our time, our platforms.
But do you know we've got one thing going against us? The government sort of got a narrative in place. They sort of telling you, oh, when you hear all these bandit stories, it's really farmers and
Further form of conflict. It's complicity.
Farmers and herdsmen clashes.
It's complicity.
Local clash. It's just a local clash.
Anyone saying that is complicity. It's complicity because they're siding with murdering Fulani herdsmen.
Yeah, they know
they are
that.
Criminals. They are murderers.
We know that, but
rightful landowners in the hundreds of thousands.
We know that. But that's what they told. That's what they told the international community.
It's talking about further form of conflict. It's
that's what they told the Herdsmen community. And I just checked out something there in 2014. The American government gave the Nigerian government loads of ammunition, loads of weapons.
$1 billion has just been approved a couple of months ago.
Believe it.
$1 billion has been approved a couple of months ago. So let's move on. Paul, let me come to you because I haven't heard from you. Are you able to speak? Because we're going to be rounding up now. Paul,
yes,
do you have something to say about the topic? The Fulani killings in Nigeria. Yes, it is genocide. And I think we have proved positive that it meets all the definitions. We have gone through the definitions. We have looked at what the situation is in Nigeria. And I think we can all say proof positive. Genocide of Christians, moderate Muslims, and in general, indigenous Nigerians is happening by the migrant Fulanis who are not indigenous to Nigeria. Paul, bring it home to us.
Yes, Jean, good afternoon all.
Good evening.
Yeah, the genocide is not in doubt. It's really going on, and it's getting scarier. I think, like Jean said, we need to exercise the avenues we have here to reach some influential people in power in Europe and here. Like we now have Mrs. Kemi, according her surname now. Is this Secretary of State or Under Secretary of State for?
Either one. I'm not sure. I thought it was Secretary of State, but it could be Under Secretary of State. Either way, she's up there and she needs to be speaking.
Yes, she's in the cabinet. We have a way we can reach her.
Yes.
I hope the Tinubu group will not go in place and not
So Stephen, Yoruba Global Directorate needs to be all over that in the UK.
Yes, we have to reach her. Then we have to even find another to talk to Kamala Harris' niece. Kamala Harris' niece, who is married to a Nigerian, We have to find a way to reach her as well, because these are avenues we can take. And we have pictures, we have videos, we have evidences everywhere to show for it.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
something personally happened to me just. Something personally happened to me just last week. Sorry, please. Just last week, something personal happened to me. Back in my state, in Imo State, in my local government, in my village, my elder brother's in-law, his wife's youngest brother was murdered by the military. They usually come around looking for IPOP. This boy was doing molding block with his colleague just by the market. They were selling blocks. They have a little block factory where they were molding blocks. The military just came here and shot them and went into a shop nearby, shot an elderly man who was just on his own, on his 2 foot. The man eventually died. So on that day, they killed 3 people. It has been happening. Some days after, they still murdered some people in the disguise of coming to look for the IPOP. So
unfortunately,
we have
this
the military
whole
doing their
IPOP
own
situation could have been avoided. It could have been avoided.
Yes, but some clergymen over there and political elites there, everybody is afraid of the governor.
Yes. Sorry.
He called Ebubagu. They are equally doing stuff. And the same thing happens across.
Absolutely.
It happens across the country. Southern Kaduna,
yes, you're right.
Every day I hear a lot of news about killings in Southern Kaduna because I have friends over there.
But it's no longer making the news. Have you noticed that they've clamped down on it? And now they're just saying Kaduna and not Southern Kaduna. They are clamping down on journalists reporting these daily atrocities.
Exactly. In fact,
they are clamping down on the reporting. That's how the UN, right, in last year came out with the 350,000 when previously they were talking about 35,000 because these are not being reported. The government is clamping down on the reporting of these atrocities by Fulani Herdsmen and Boko Haram and other terrorists.
Yes, and unfortunately, the media owners, many of them are in government. Many of them have interest in government. So each time government calls on them, they tell their reporters to tune it down, don't report and all that.
Oh,
Media is compromised. Majority of our media is compromised. So
Nigerian press don't trust them.
Please let him finish, please.
So in summary, if you can find a way to let this international media like CNN and ABC and others know about what is going on in Nigeria, it will start with the Nigerian government.
But guys, Paul, we can do this. It's called commercials. I've been calling on the indigenous people in the diaspora. It's called commercials. If they will not carry your news, you can pay and have your commercial on during the news around the world.
Yes.
It's called commercial. And that's what we need to do. It's called TikTok. It's called Instagram, Facebook. These are our information that we must. Everyone that has a Facebook page must carry it. Right? So Stephen, bring us home and then we are going to round up. Thank you everyone for great discussions. Stephen, bring us home.
Yes, I want to draw attention to the political dynamics in the diaspora. The United States historically has always deferred to the United Kingdom on matters of sub-Saharan Africa and Nigeria in particular, which explains on one part why the United States has been silent. The second part, the United States has been silent, is that the democratic government that is in place now ushered in the Buhari government. They sent a political strategist from Chicago that I know, I just blanked out on his name now, to map out the winning strategy in 2015. The Obama administration sent that guy in. I know him very well, I just forgot his name now. So they are deliberately looking the other way. That's why they didn't hesitate when the Buhari government came in and told them, oh, it's just the herdsmen. So I'm bringing this up to let us know the kind of uphill battle that we have ahead of us, and also to keep our options open to reach across the aisle to the Republican organization, because Christians are being killed. We need to look at the evangelical council in the United States that really is sympathetic to those issues, and not just say we go to the White House. We need to reach across the aisle. I must say this, and I'm saying this unapologetically. when Donald Trump mentioned a few years ago that Nigeria, excuse my language, is a shithole country. Now all Nigerians they took up arms. Now, if Nigeria is not a shithole country, why is Nina trying to get out of Nigeria? That's the question I'm asking. Okay. So, in other words, when Trump made the comment, he was recognizing the atrocities of the Fulani government, not the people. And that's why now we're waking up to say, oh, things are so bad in Nigeria, which in Trump's vulgar language called shithole country. I'm sorry to say, it is a shithole country. That's why the Yoruba nation is trying to get out of there. So maybe we need to look on the other side and see who can help us on the other side of the aisle, of the political aisle. Thank you.
We are actually looking at all aisles, whether they are Democrat, Republican, Independent, Progressive, we don't care who.
Absolutely.
Everybody needs to be tabbed. You know, all the human rights organizations, women rights organizations, children's rights organizations, we need to be in their front. And let me repeat for those in the diaspora, don't tell me that CNN is not carrying your news. Make a commercial. Pay for it to be shown during the news. Don't tell me that BBC is not carrying your news, because they won't show commercials, but you got other stations and you can show it, right? We've got TikTok. Let's get our young people. Let's educate them and have them out there. We got Twitter. We have access to these people en masse. That's what we need to be doing so we can stop. Look at this. The number of people being killed. It's absolutely ludicrous. We must stop this. We must stop this. We must reclaim our sovereignty, because we're sovereign. We're a sovereign nation. We're sovereign nations. In the 1960 independent agreement, we are sovereign nations. We're self-governing and autonomous. We're not unitary. That's what we were, and that's what we need to get back to. So if you look on the left, you see the pink map. Those are the regions that were sovereign and autonomous. The middle belt was supposed to have been carved out. Now, in the middle, it is unitary Nigeria that has swallowed up our sovereignty. And we need to go now to the new people's nation. And that's why Ninas issued a constitutional force majeure in December of 2020, rejecting that constitution that created unitary Nigeria, because it was not made by the people, it was not agreed by the people, and it was always clear that it would not work and would create apartheid and genocide, which it is doing right now. But question, why is the United Kingdom not raising? Why are they not saying, wait a minute, unitary Nigeria is not what was agreed to? And we knew this back in 1953, 1955. We have shown that here in the archives of the British archives, where they knew this, and which is why 1960, it was determined that they were going to be autonomous, self-governing, have their own leaders, have their own constitutions, have control of their own assets, and only have a small portion in the central government, instead of what we now have, this federal government that has put the indigenes in apartheid and is complicit in the genocide of the rightful indigenes of the land. So thank you all, everyone. Great conversation. And we will rebroadcast this several times over, because this was a very good discussion, just really showing the world that there is genocide going on in Nigeria. And something needs to be done about it sooner than later. And I want to share one headline that talked about the fact that what's going on in Nigeria should be now beyond just the international community rebuttal. Just give me 1 minute to find that and to end on that note, because it's no longer just a rebuttal. Action is needed. Killing of Christians and burning of their churches in Nigeria have gone beyond just international rebuttal. Action needs to be taken. But we are calling on all indigenous Nigerians in the diaspora, from the Hausa to the Igbo, to the Yoruba, to the Ijaw, to the Middle Belters, Biram, Efik. It's time for your voices to be heard, but abroad and at home. Again, thank you all very much for joining us today, and make sure to share this video. Make sure to subscribe to our channel, and also subscribe to INSURGENCY Media. We want to thank INSURGENCY Media for letting us broadcast live and reach thousands of people every week that we broadcast. Thank you very much, INSURGENCY Media. We really appreciate the work that you're doing towards the freedom of our people, and look forward to seeing you guys again. I am going to go ahead and end the live streaming and also stop the recording.